Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm so thrilled to be with you and introduce you to my friend, Artie Smith. He has been a collegiate coach for 23 years, among other accomplishments. He's also a runner, lifetime runner, has been an athlete his whole life. And he's got some really awesome nuggets to share with you I'm so glad that you agreed to hop on and have this conversation with me, Artie.
Thanks a lot, Erica. It's great to see you again. We go way back to our days, Park River Forest Huskies,
That's right.
and it's been fun to follow all the great things you've been doing through the years. And we've had a lot of great conversations about coaching and coaching philosophy. Uh, Really been fun for me to learn from you and talk to you about all these kinds of things. So I'm glad to join you here to do the same sort of thing.
Thank you. Yeah, and I agree. So you were saying, and I think that this is so important for athletes that are going to be watching this, and also even really anybody who's going to be watching this. You have like a formula or some C words that you would like to use that really help people to accomplish their goals, but also to enjoy the process in along the way. And I think that's so powerful and so important, because when we're singularly focused on something and don't enjoy the journey, it can really leave a lot out of the process. So I'm really looking forward to hearing you kind of share some more about that.
Cool. I know many of my former athletes and some of my former students will find a lot of what we talk about familiar. I think when you've coached a long time and worked with students for a long time, like I've been fortunate enough to do, you hopefully find some philosophies or ways of approaching things that, although nothing's ever completely universal, but they're good tools. The C words I have found to be useful in so many different aspects of life, from coaching to helping students in school, helping people achieve whatever goals they might have.
Awesome. Awesome. So yeah, so maybe could you give just people who aren't familiar with you a little background, like what you've been up to and what you're doing now and that kind of thing.
So since our days together back in high schools, again, go Huskies.
Yeah.
I've been really fortunate. I've had, for me, what's been a pretty interesting journey in higher education the last 25 years or so. So as you mentioned, I was a Division I coach for 23 years. I coached for 3 years at Duke University, where I was finishing my doctoral work in history. But I really caught the coaching bug there. And I went back to my undergraduate alma mater, Cornell, where I coached track and cross country for 20 years. And really just some of the most rewarding years of my life. I achieved a lifelong goal. I got to be the head coach for the women's track and cross country team there. We had a lot of fun, a lot of success. But I was also fortunate, Erica, because the years I was at Cornell, they also gave me the opportunity to work in other roles that really reinforced how much I love working with students. So I was an advising dean and academic dean in the College of Arts and Sciences there. And also, so I got to work with students, kind of coaching them on their academic work, not just students on the athletic side, which was really a lot of fun, and found that my C words, for example, often they work really well there as well. But the other part of my life at Cornell was, for 15 years or so, I worked in undergraduate admissions. So I chaired admissions committees. I got to serve on a lot of committees that set policy and procedures for Cornell admissions. And so what I've decided to do recently, it's been very rewarding for me. I've kind of been bringing together all the different things I've worked on in higher ed. I've started my own college admissions consulting firm, arthursmithadvising.com is where people know more about it, but it's Arthur Smith Advising. And one of the things that's really kept me moving forward in my own life in terms of motivating me for my next role is working with students and families. I've done that, for a long time, coaching and recruiting folks, but also advising and mentoring them in college. And now I'm having a lot of fun working with high school students to maybe make their process of applying to colleges more fun.
Oh, nice.
It's stressful these days for families to figure all that out. And I think a good emphasis on the process and appreciating the journey, as you mentioned earlier, are ways that I've been able to help a lot of families recently navigate college admissions, navigate college recruiting, whatever it might be. So yeah, I've been having fun working with families for a couple decades, and that's what makes me get excited every morning.
Awesome. Well, we'll put a link in the information so that people can find you if they're in the situation. Because I mean, I know the college application process can be really daunting. And I mean, I can't imagine what it's like now. I remember how it was back in the day when I was doing it, but I'm sure it's gotten way more complicated.
Yeah, and that's only been exacerbated by the tough times we're living in 2020. So yeah,
Mhm.
so hopefully my approaches and the way I like working with students is something that can alleviate a lot of that stress. As both you and I know in working with people, we can alleviate stress, we can get a lot more done.
Oh, that's so true. Yes. Awesome. So with without any further ado, tell us, this C word formula that you've come up with and that you've shared with your students and the people that you coach. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, so one of the things that has struck me for so many years in coaching young people and really coaching and working with people of any age is that focusing on the journey, a better word that I think we've both used, is emphasizing a process or the process of
Mhm.
getting to where you want to go. That is really the most effective way to help people get where they want to go. And so I've found the C words to be kind of a handy, catchy, nice way to sum up a process that can work for people. And when I talk to people about the process, I always want to emphasize, this is not to somehow suggest that the outcome is something we're not going to care about or that it's
Mhm.
somehow important. In fact, the outcome is important. Otherwise, we wouldn't be setting out on a journey. We wouldn't have a destination. I mean, the outcome does matter to people. When people set goals, they want to get there. If that's an athlete who wants to improve on their performance in a race, if it's a
Right.
student who wants to do better in school, if you want to get into a certain college,
Mhm.
those goals do matter. But the process of getting there, embracing that, as I think we've talked about so many times, that's really the key to getting to that goal. That
Mhm.
fixation on the outcome is not a healthy or a very effective way of getting there. But
Mhm.
in embracing the process, you're going to stay focused on the kinds of skill development that you need to get where you want to be. And then ultimately, what I find so rewarding is even if you don't quite get to that big time goal that you've set for yourself, you don't quite get to the stars, you're going to get to the clouds. You're going to get really high up there. And along the
Mhm.
way, have really developed some skills and attributes that will serve you well as you begin your next journey. So
Yes.
again, that process I think is important. And for me, these C words kind of sum that up. And there's really there's 5 of them,
Mhm.
that I like to focus on. Communication, being consistent, uh, confidence, capability, and then ultimately the composure that you want
Mm.
to be able to develop in yourself to be able to achieve what you want to achieve when the moment may arise.
Love
So
it.
people often say, well, what is communication got to do? Why do you start with communication? That to me might be the most important one in any kind of
Mhm.
process for an athlete,
Yeah.
student. And there's a lot of different ways to think about communication, but part of it is identifying who the people who are going to be helping you on your journey,
Mhm.
coach, teacher, a colleague, a friend, and being honest and communicative with them
Mhm.
about the things that you're trying to achieve. Because you can't get feedback, you can't get coaching, you can't get effective help if you're not being honest and upfront about the things that you're trying to do. And then the second part of communication is being communicative with yourself, right?
Mm.
It's maybe keeping a journal of the training that you're doing as you build up towards a marathon. It's
Mhm.
keeping notes on the research that you're doing as you're trying to look at colleges, whatever the task may be. And you learn a lot about yourself through that internal communication that can
Mhm.
direct what you need to work on and what you need to be doing. So that communication piece is any process. You're going to get stuck going in circles if you're not communicating with other people
Love
and
it.
yourself. Um,
Love it.
the next one that I think builds on that though is being consistent in the things that you do.
Mm.
So I coached runners for a long, long time, still work with
Mm.
many of my collegiate runners who are now post-collegiates and help them.
Mhm.
And that's fun to stay in touch with them. But the ones who are the most successful in sport and really any endeavor find consistency in what they do. And that's not to say that people should become stuck on a routine.
Mhm.
But from a bird's eye view, looking down at what you do, have you consistently been putting in the mileage in your training if you're a runner? If you're an aspiring musician, are you consistently putting in the work that your instructor has given you on the technical aspect of things? Is that something that you're doing every day? And then is that something that you're valuing every day? I think when we talk about process, hopefully we're learning to enjoy the journey, and consistently doing things over time hopefully builds up that joy as well. And that's when you get better at
Love
things.
it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
in being consistent, I find that people develop a lot of confidence in themselves.
Mhm.
Consistently do something, you start to develop that skill. And
Yeah.
that, and you've worked with so many people, that seeing that light of confidence go on, and
Mhm.
working, not just working towards that, but really embracing that confidence in yourself. That's one of the most rewarding things as a coach, is to see that
Mhm.
confidence. And if we, as coaches, if we're able to instill that self-confidence, that's a huge step in any process to being successful. And I find that people that have worked consistently and are confident, they start to see improvements in their capability. That's kind of my
Mhm.
fourth word there. And where that fits in as a process and not just a goal is that, maybe someone's an athlete, a basketball player who wants to perform better late in games, and say it at the free throw line.
Mhm.
Well, consistently working on your free throw technique and skill set, communicating with your coaches and what you need to work on, you start to develop the confidence in practice that you can do it. If you can hit 10 in a row in practice, that capability is there.
Mhm.
Confidence in that capability is there. And then when you get to that moment in the game, you have what is ultimately kind of any high achieving athlete or person will say, that zone, that composure,
Yes.
then follow through on that capability in the moment. And so I really like people to aspire towards and work on developing composure in tough moments. And that comes from consistently working on things, developing capability, having confidence. But I think we all know, and we talked about this before we got on, stress is no good. It's dysfunctional. We
Right.
don't perform at our best, whether it's in a race or in a test or
Mhm.
performance of any kind. And so if you've developed the confidence and the capability through consistent work, you're going to find that composure. And that composure in the moment is not just an end in and of itself. That's an aspect of the process. And if you can be composed in what we are setting out to do, you're going to achieve your goals. Or if you don't, you're certainly going to enjoy the process of getting there, a whole
Yes.
lot more, and be a lot further along down the road. So yeah, so a little
Yeah.
bit of explanation on each of those. There's lots of other great C words, if you're on
Mhm.
teams, cooperation, conviction, all those things are great. Talk about a lot of those. But when I'm working with a student in any kind of environment, I like to start with those five, because those are also things, to sum up, that a student, an athlete, a person can control themselves. You can
Yes.
control the level of communication that you're setting out to do. You can control the consistency of the work that you put in.
Mhm.
And you want to have your own sense of self-confidence and capability and composure. So these are all things that people can control themselves, that are not dictated to by somebody else, which is also an important part, I think, of a
For
healthy process.
sure. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I could ask you a million questions about each of these, and I love what you're saying. And one of the things that I think is so powerful, that like what you just said, obviously you can control those things. And then also, just when you're talking about enjoying the process, if you think of getting to the goal, let's say you do the PR, like you have the PR, or you get into the school, it's like this, but the process is what most of us are spending our time on. So if we're not enjoying that space and developing our skill in that arena, then when we get, let's say we do have the accomplishment, it's like a flash in the pan, and we are not able to really soak it in and feel the sense of accomplishment that we might feel if we had developed all of these other skills and enjoying the process, like you were saying.
Absolutely. And certainly achieving a goal in and of itself
Mhm.
is fantastic. But the ones that are the most rewarding that we look back on are the ones that we invested a lot in. We're
Yes.
going to feel better about that investment if the process along the way is one that we've learned to enjoy. And I would add, gives you skills and ways of thinking that you can carry forward to the next goal.
Yes.
And that's another, I think, undervalued part of focusing on a process, is it doesn't just end with achieving that goal. it can help you build and continue to move forward. And so,
Mhm.
yeah, I totally agree with you. We look back on the things that we've accomplished a lot with a lot more positivity when we kind of enjoyed the road to get there. It means so much more, but it
Totally.
really means that we can keep doing great things.
Yes. I love it. Awesome. So I'm wanting to ask all of my guests this one question, and it may be just a summary of what you've just said, but
Uh-huh.
what would you say is the one thing that can really help an athlete or an individual to really raise their game in life, like not just in their sport, but um, what would you say, Artie?
So to me, it's the C word that I value the most. It's confidence. It's
Mm,
developing that inner confidence, um, that you have the capability, and therefore you have the belief in yourself to accomplish things. And there always will be people there to help you along the road. Nobody does this completely by themselves. To me, the best coaches, the most effective ones, are the ones that instill that inner voice of confidence, and
mm,
let that grow. The best coaches are people that listen and help direct someone down a path to find that inner confidence.
I
Because
love
ultimately, if you're out there running a race, if you're on that free throw line, if you're sitting there taking a test, nobody else is doing that for you. That's
right.
your thing. And so the greatest gift we can give somebody as a coach is empowering them to have that inner belief that leads to the kind of confidence to be successful. But
I love
we're human. We all have doubts.
right.
Confidence doesn't mean the absence of doubt.
Mhm.
Part of being confident is having the tools to work through those hard times. And again, that's where we circle back to a healthy process and all
Mhm.
these skill sets and attributes that come from communicating with people and being consistent in your work and developing capabilities and learning how to be composed. That helps you be confident in those key moments.
Love it. Well, thank you so much, Artie. I really know that everyone that is going to be hearing this is getting enormous value from what you've said, and we can go. We'll have to further our conversations.
Oh,
Perhaps we'll do something else like this some more. But
for
I really
sure.
appreciated what you shared and completely agree with you. And so, how could people get in contact with you if they're
Yeah.
interested in your
Yeah.
consulting?
Thanks a lot. So my company's name is Arthur Smith Advising, and pretty straightforward website URL, arthursmithadvising.com. There's very easy links on there to contact me, whether that's to just set up a virtual appointment. My phone number is there, email address if people just have questions and want to get started, and also a little bit more background on the kinds of things that I do to help high school students and their families navigate thinking ahead to college, academic planning to prepare themselves for the application process. And also, I work with several students who are high school athletes and they're looking to continue to compete in college. And I have a
Yeah,
lot, as you know, a lot of experience on the other
for
side as a
sure.
college coach. And so I'm really enjoying helping them find the best way to continue their athletic passions in a college environment. All of the meetings I do with my students are virtual, and that's not just because of the pandemic. I work with students all across the country, and so
Right.
it's a great way these days with technology to be able to connect with people all over. And
Sure.
again, what I just find so rewarding is getting to know a student, listening to what they want to do, whether they're 15 years old or 25 years old. I've worked with the
Mhm.
whole range, listening
Right.
to where they want to go, and then hopefully helping them find the path that's going to get them where they want to go. And so all my coaching years, it really helps a lot in working with these high school students too.
I'm sure. Well, I mean, I know because I know you and I know how much you care about people. So if people have an opportunity to work with you, I think that they should snatch that up
Thank
and
you.
grab it while they can.
I
So thanks
appreciate it.
so much for sharing that and send Artie a message if you're interested in some consulting. And thank you so much for being here, Artie.
Erica, thanks for inviting me. This is great. You do great work. Keep it up. And I know we're going to continue to keep all these great coaching conversations going.
For sure. Thank you so much.
All right.
Okay, bye-bye.
See you later.